Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into some incredibly interesting facts all about the movie Inception, Christopher Nolan's absolute mind-bending masterpiece. Now, when this hit theaters back in 2010, it wasn't just a blockbuster, right? It was a total cultural phenomenon. People were literally debating that spinning top for years. But today, we're looking way past the table. We're going to examine how they actually pulled it off, the real-world dream science it tapped into, and, get this, the shocking tech advancements it actually inspired in the real world.
So rather than a standard, boring agenda, I just want you to take a leap of faith with me here. We're going to drop level by level into the fascinating realities behind this film. Just like a dream within a dream, buckle up because it's time to go deeper.
All right, dropping right into level 1, Inception versus Interstellar.
Let's just impartially look at how Inception stacks up against another Nolan heavyweight, Interstellar. What is super fascinating here is the sheer contrast in how they achieved these jaw-dropping visuals. While Interstellar leaned heavily into incredibly advanced CGI to build those hyper-realistic space environments, Inception went the completely opposite route. Nolan is, famously obsessed with practical effects, and man, they pushed the limits here. Instead of relying on a green screen, the crew literally built a sprawling, highly detailed miniature mountain fortress, just so they could blow the whole shebang up on camera for that explosive third-act climax. Crazy, right?
And this really perfectly illustrates the financial reality between the two. You'd probably assume the sweeping, infinite space epic brought in more cash, but it was actually Inception taking the commercial crown. Despite having a slightly smaller budget, we're talking $160 million compared to Interstellar's $165 million, Inception raked in a massive $837 million globally. It also snagged higher critical ratings and more award nominations, really proving that its intricate, completely unusual concept totally struck a chord with audiences everywhere.
At the end of the day, both films are absolute cinematic triumphs. They just have distinct strengths. Interstellar is all about that grand atmosphere and deep themes of isolation, backed by what is arguably Hans Zimmer's absolute best score. But Inception? It thrives on that wildly unusual concept and a perfectly fitted ensemble cast. I mean, DiCaprio, Tom Hardy, Elliot Page, it just works. But hey, brace yourself, because here comes the kick to drop us into our next level.
Here we go, level 2, the engine of the screenplay. Now, when you're dealing with multiple overlapping layers of dreams, your script has to be incredibly precise. To manage this notoriously complex plot, Christopher Nolan and his co-writer brother Jonathan relied heavily on a structural method called story maps. Think of this script like a finely tuned machine. This method demands that every single character has a clear goal, a defined arc, and a highly precise beat sheet that constantly drives the narrative forward. You can't just have characters aimlessly wandering around in a dream, you absolutely need that relentless forward momentum.
So the crucial takeaway here is that by laying down strict rules right off the bat, the writers created genuine escalating stakes. They made it crystal clear you could get trapped in this dream world for years. They introduced this super powerful sedative required for the mission, meaning if you died in the dream, you wouldn't just wake up in your bed, you risked falling into permanent limbo. And of course, there's the physical kick you need to snap back to reality. When Saito gets shot early on, it instantly sets off a ticking clock. Suddenly, this theoretical danger is a terrifying race against time, totally grounding all those wild, bending visuals in palpable tension. I mean, really think about it for a second. The team's mission is literally to brainwash a grieving son, Robert Fisher, to break up his dying father's company. It's kind of messed up, right? But we root for Cobb the whole time entirely because of his singular, totally sympathetic goal. He just wants to go home to his kids. His external goal, his internal emotional journey, and his entire character arc, it's all tied to seeing his children's faces again. That deep emotional core is the glue that makes the complex mechanics actually work. Okay, let's plunge a little deeper, shall we?
Tumbling right into level 3, real science of lucid dreaming.
When we actually compare the movie's fiction with the very real science of lucid dreaming, it turns out the film got a whole lot right. In the movie, when the architect changes the dream environment a bit too much, the subconscious projections, the random people walking around, they start staring and eventually attack. Well, real lucid dreamers report a very similar phenomenon. If you announce out loud that you're in a dream, the dream figures will actively argue with you or even resist. Plus, just like Cobb struggles with the violent intrusion of his deceased wife, Mal, real dreamers often have to deal with the spontaneous intrusion of some pretty terrifying subconscious material. And interestingly enough, if a lucid dreamer jumps off a cliff trying to wake up, sometimes they don't. They enter what's called the lucid void, just waiting for a new dream to form. Sounds an awful lot like Limbo, doesn't it? And what about the film's mind-bending concept of time dilation, where 5 minutes in the real world equals an hour in a dream, and it just multiplies the deeper you go? That is totally grounded in reality too.
Real lucid dreamers have reported experiencing what feels like months, years, or even an entire lifetime in a single night. They can wake up feeling like their entire personality has completely shifted just from the sheer weight of the time they experienced inside their own heads. Absolutely fascinating stuff. But hold on, the dream world is about to bleed into the real one.
Dropping into level 4, the deep learning legacy.
Now, this is where Hollywood pop culture collides head-on with cutting-edge computer science. You guys definitely remember the famous line, "We need to go deeper." It spread like wildfire, becoming a massive internet meme. Well, back in 2014, a team of researchers at Google was developing this revolutionary new convolutional neural network for computer vision. Heavily inspired by that meme and the whole concept of a layered reality, they literally named their groundbreaking architecture Inception. So it started as a simple line of dialogue, transformed into a meme, which then named a system that literally changed artificial intelligence forever. No way, right?
22. That is the staggering number of deep layers in that original Inception version 1 neural network architecture. To put that into perspective, at the time, that level of depth in a neural network was incredibly complex, functioning a whole lot like the multi-layered, intricate dream heists in the film itself.
Let's look at the timeline to see how this builds. After winning a massive visual recognition challenge in 2014, Google didn't just stop and pat themselves on the back. They kept iterating. Inception version 2 added batch normalization in 2015. Version 3 introduced factorized convolutions in 2016. And by 2017, we saw Inception version 4 and even a spin-off called Exception, which stands for Extreme Inception. This brilliant evolution proved that technology, much like the dream world, always finds a way to go deeper and deeper. And with that, we are initiating our final kick. We've finally reached the bottom. Limbo, hyperreality and true identity.
Down here in the deepest level of our explainer, we really have to question the very fabric of the film's reality. The philosophical concept of hyperreality, theorized by Jean Baudrillard, is the beating heart of this entire story. Hyperreality is basically a condition where what is real and what is fiction are so seamlessly blended together that there's no clear distinction for the person experiencing it. In the film, characters become completely lost in these layered simulations. That's why they use totems, like the spinning top or a loaded die, just to ground themselves. The simulated dream world to become entirely indistinguishable from reality itself.
Looking closely at Cobb's journey, we really have to wonder about the nature of his reality. His deceased wife, Mao, constantly sabotages his missions, right? But we know she isn't a ghost, she's a projection of his own mind. We have to ask if his inability to escape her grasp just means he's a prisoner of his own subconscious trauma. Is the real enemy here just his own unbearable guilt, simulating a never-ending punishment?
Which brings us to the ultimate question that has sparked literally thousands of debates. I'm gonna leave you with this final thought. Has this entire movie, from the very first frame, just been Cobb's dream? When we watch him navigate all these complex rules, pull off these nearly impossible heists, and finally see his children's faces right before the screen cuts to black, was the real Inception actually planted in us? Were we, the audience, just sitting in the dark sharing a dream with Christopher Nolan this whole time? It's definitely something to think about the next time you close your eyes. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, keep questioning your reality.